I just dropped my phone and absolutely cracked it. Which it's a miracle it survived. Boom! Here it is. Oh my goodness, that battery is so solid now. Ow! Ow! Oh my god! Every time I drive this car, it is slowly getting a little bit worse. This is just a disaster now. Now that I'm pretty sure this is the evap thing for the gas tank, it's just dragging on the floor, including that spanked ass tire.
Okay.
All the BMWs are in the back corner. I hope I can find the battery tray here. Let's get to the BMWs. BMW is all I care about. Peeking over, see a little E46 here too. 323. Damn. There's no way that this thing has a clean battery tray. Oh no. Yep, I'm not taking that. Nice. I just dropped my phone and absolutely cracked it. I have never cracked my phone like this and broken it. Bro. My day is ruined. My week is ruined. Bro, my phone is... God damn it, bro. I need to show you guys this. This is fun stupid. I'm so pissed. Can you guys see that? I have a screen protector on, but it landed phone first and absolutely totaled my phone. Damn, this is so much pain, yo. What the? This battery tray looks to be in good condition, but it's also full of water. It looks really good condition, actually. Damn. He checked my bag and saw the handheld grinder and was like, nope, we can't use grinders. You gotta have a hacksaw or a sawzall. So I need a battery powered sawzall. Fellow off of Facebook letting me cut this out of his car. I'm gonna take the hole from up here all the way down. I only brought one disc like an idiot in this thing, and I am so close to getting it out. Cut all through there, through the top, through there, down this side, down, of the pinch weld all the way back. That is exactly what we want. I've been dailying the car like this with these two ratchet straps holding the battery in. It's 100% loose and dangling in there, so this is #1 priority. This is the daily. Before anything, this bumper has got to come off. I bought this car with this corner mashed in, and that's definitely what caused this battery tray to rot out this badly. This is about as bad as it gets. The negative cable was the only thing holding that battery in. I should not be driving the car in this condition. I actually drove probably like 30 miles with the battery just like this, and the bumper was the only thing that was holding this corner in, which it's a miracle it survived. I searched all of YouTube to see someone else doing this repair, and there is nothing. So I'm glad to be the first one. Let's get this started. I do just want to clarify real quick, I have never done any kind of rust repair before. So this is gonna be my first time. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I hope you guys learn from my mistakes. Mistakes are part of the process. No matter how much experience you have, there's always gonna be mistakes throughout the process. It's just the way things go. So the first step that I have to do is find out what I need to cut out. So I'm thinking, since I wanna replace this whole crash area, coming from up here, midway through this vent, I'll just take the dimensions from the top of that line and then come down the same distance on both of them and cut all the way across to here and to across there. But the hard part is gonna be once it's on the frame rail. I have no idea. I'm hoping that I can save some of this material, but the only way for me to know if the material is good is by grinding it down and getting an eye on it. So that's the first step. I gotta grind down the material on this side. I feel pretty confident about down here. It's just, before cutting anything, I feel like I should try and hammer this back out. Let's see. It's looking better. I mean, I don't think it's really necessary, but I'm gonna do it anyways. With this blanket over it, hopefully my car does not fill up with a whole bunch of dust. I do not have much faith in any of this being usable, but there's only one way to find out. I am not playing around. This is no joke. This shit shoots needles out. And all that rust, you're gonna see. You need one of these if you're gonna be grinding rust under a car. Look at how quickly I get smoked out in rust. It's still going through my mask. I gotta tighten this. Holy shit. I have my predicted cut line all marked out, and now I'm gonna come in with the wire brush and get that whole line grinded down fully. It comes around, and then I'm gonna match that same distance all the way around. Now looking at it in the camera, I was thinking about doing it kind of offset like this, but that might make it really hard to line it up. I was avoiding the hard corner because I thought that the two pieces of metal, no, that actually makes no sense. If I just cut it right on the corner, then I'll be able to butt it right up to that and I'll know exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it on the corner. I am gonna be using this rust mort to convert the rust back to good metal wherever there is some. And in here is where I was thinking about using it, but I don't know if I should use it before or after welding. Okay, so my cut line is gonna be right here. Yeah, I feel very good about that now. There's no rust. Bro. Two and a quarter inch from the bottom up here is where I'm gonna go. 2 1/4 inch. That Sharpie was much better.
not mean to go that far in there. Damn it. Look. Nice. Let's go. I messed up in a few corners, but it's good.
Looking closer here, I do not like the rust that's on there, so I'm gonna cut this whole bracket out. This holds like that charcoal canister thing for the gas tank, but I'm just gonna delete it. And I'm gonna cut this out and get all that grinded off behind that.
Now I'm going to use the grinder to go through that line that I marked all the way across, and with that I'll be able to make the line again after it's all bare metal to get that fully cut out.
I only just now found out that the shorter the bristles on the wire brush, the better it works at removing anything in its path, because I use that to clean up where I'm gonna be welding across, and it's all basically 100% ready for weld. It's nice and shiny metal, which is exactly what I want. This is gonna be such a good surface to weld to. But I'm very glad that I took that bracket out, because as you can see, there's a lot of rust under that bracket. So I'm gonna cut this whole piece off entirely so I can get all that rust cleaned up, or else it's gonna rot out just like how mine just did.
Not too good. There's a hole straight through. Nice. That is beautiful.
After I cut the battery tray out, I was fitting it up and realizing that there's a lot of places that need trimming down for the fitment to get better. Like if I trim down this low spot right here, it's gonna make that gap and that gap close up. But I gotta go around evenly, making sure I only remove those low spots and nothing more. But like right here, this is really good. On the car side, it's a little long and very uneven. So I'm gonna get like right there, there's a low spot, and I gotta get all that trimmed down nice and flush so that this can all get welded nicely. I was very nervous about holding this piece together in place alone, but Harbor Freight had these sheet metal clamps and they're so useful. You take this little piece out, stick this through the gap. It leaves a little bit of a gap because when you're welding sheet metal, you don't want it to be fully butted together flush. You want there to be just a little bit of a gap in between so that the weld can actually get in between the two sheet metals and penetrate very nicely. This is way, way, way better. I was panicking before, but I feel confident now. I cut the battery tray part a little bit long, so I'm gonna bring it down to the bottom of this ridge. I cut the car side right at the base of the ridge, and I cut the battery tray part at the top of the ridge. And those little measurements make a very big difference when I'm going for this perfect of fitment. It only looks like this first part is what's actually contacting, so I'm only gonna go to about there. This front section looks beautiful. Once this is up a little bit more, all that is gonna get welded in. Now on this side is where I have to be very careful and take many cuts and not overdo it. So I could trim all of this right here. So that low spot there, and then just a little low spot in the back. Once I fix fitment in one corner, I don't want to make it worse in another corner. That's where all the patience comes in. These clamps are so nice. I did not know they existed until literally just now. Just take that little square out and that's it. Dude, this is so sick. These are amazing. Just that little bit of trimming made it fit a lot better. Up here, I'm just looking for the relationship between both metals to be the same. So if the gap is the same along the whole way right there, then I can just find the one place that it's contacting and clearance it just a little bit. I'm gonna just try and remove a tiny bit off both those sides. And then once this whole corner is fully butted up, then I can kind of work around that. Like I said, I do not want to leave a gap. It's just all about patience. But it's looking a lot more even now. So let's get that done. I've been trimming for quite some time. It fits a lot better, but there's still some places where it has a pretty decent gap in it. Like right there, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fill that in with the weld. It's looking really good so far though. These clamps are helping me out so much. Because I'm done trying to get this to fit super duper perfect. I'm just gonna try and weld it in. Like here, this is a big ass gap, but I feel like I may just be overthinking it. I think I can fill it in. This is a drift car. It really doesn't matter that much, but I don't wanna just be blowing holes everywhere. So that's the only reason why I'm overthinking it so much. Like here, there's a massive gap. I really just hope it fills in. But before that, right here cleaning the rust, it made a big hole in there. So I'm gonna have to cut this out and get some new metal welded in there before I weld this all into the car. I'm gonna knock down the backside of all the surfaces that get welded so that I have 100% clean surface for the weld to penetrate through. I measured the biggest gap and it's about 3 millimeters wide with those little blocks in place. So for me to close that gap up, I would have to grind all the surfaces down evenly so that the whole thing can sit upward more, which before I do that, that sounds like an absolute nightmare. It was already difficult enough to get it to fit properly how it is now, but I cut this little sample piece out. This is the gap that I want. That's the thickness of one cutting blade, and then that allows that the metal goes in between them and you get a good strong weld. I recreated that 3 millimeter gap on this spare piece of metal. I'm gonna try welding this up. If it's easy, I'm gonna weld the whole plate in. If it's not, I'm gonna refix the fitment on that piece there. Big shout out to Fitzy Fabrication on YouTube. He has the same machine as me, and he always leaves his wire speed at 65, and he bounces around from 1 to 2 voltage when he's working on sheet metal. And he always works on the same type of thickness material that I'm using right now. And it worked out perfectly. That big ass hole is no longer there. And it was actually really easy to weld. Just making sure to use the air compressor to cool off the tacks, 4 tacks in, so that I don't start blowing holes in it. The back side of the weld, where the hole was the biggest, it had the most penetration. And on the other side over here, I wasn't focused on the gap when I was welding, and that's why there's no penetration. So that's a good lesson for when I do the car. I have to focus the actual welding wire in the gap so that I can get good penetration and not just stack metal on top of the gap. I've never been good at welding sheet metal, but having the machine on the right settings definitely helps a lot. And I'm really excited to use this time now to get better at welding sheet metal. I was doing so much research trying to find out if that gap would be too big to weld, when I should have just done this from the beginning. Actually do it on my own is way better than reading online, so it's a good lesson learned. Just do it on your own instead of Googling on a scrap piece of metal. How am I gonna... This plate is absolutely perfect. Let me weld that in. At the beginning, I was just doing very quick tacks on off, but it wasn't allowing enough time to actually penetrate through the metal. And towards the end, I realized I can hold it for a lot longer than I thought I could, and it's not burning through. So I can actually give some good welds without having any issues on these settings. I definitely always had my wire speed too low, and that's why my holes were blowing through. There you can see the spots that had no penetration was what I did at the beginning, but now I know. When there's a tight fit all the way around, I have to hold the weld there a little longer so that it actually penetrates through, because it didn't penetrate at the beginning. I truly cannot believe that I was contemplating going to Harbor Freight, because I wouldn't have found these. These saved my life. That gap is definitely weldable. Here's a fitment check. Coming down here, down and around. Down there is nice. Kind of opens up there. And over to there. Nice and simple. I tacked it a bunch. It's all in place. So I'm gonna continue doing tacks around the whole thing. Spend a few hours doing this. And just like that, that big ass gap is fully filled in. That was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. With the wire speed that fast, this makes it so much easier because the wire builds up so much quicker, which is exactly what you need when you're trying to do these big ass gaps like that. But it's going well, it's going well. I finally got it all welded up, and it wasn't that bad. It just took some time because I could only get away with doing 2 tacks before having to cool it off with the air hose so that it doesn't blow a hole. Anytime I did 3, it always blew a hole. So the better discipline that I had with actually sticking to the 2 tacks and cooling off after, then the better the result was. But there were a lot of times where you do 2 tacks and you're just like, oh, I just want to go quick. You do a 3rd one and every single time it blew through. But now that it's all welded up, it's ready for rust mort, the rust converter, so that this does not continue again, like up there and stuff. I've never used this as well, but everything from SEM works really well. I'm gonna apply 3 coats of this. Once the first coat dries off, that's when I'll apply the 2nd coat. And this is like phosphoric acid, so I don't know if you could just straight up use phosphoric acid, but you probably could. I don't see why not. Coat number 1 done. Honestly, that might need like an hour to fully dry off. After the 3 coats, I'm gonna have to let it sit for 24 hours to fully convert all that rust, which it already looks different than before. So I'm gonna go edit. It's been 2 hours and it's still wet, so I think I'm just gonna apply some more because on their technical data sheet it says the longer that the rust mort is wet on it, the better the effects. It's been 22 hours and it looks actually really good. There's no more rust and it's all converted to that black metal now, which is sick. This is so much better looking than before. But SEM specifies clearly that I must come in with water to clean this off, which is kind of counterintuitive since you think the water is gonna make it rust more, but that's what they say, so I'm gonna do exactly what they say. I gotta get rid of this phosphoric acid. Now I'll be able to spray paint onto this, and it should be 100% rust proof now. God, that water smells like shit after wiping that down. I'm glad my dad gave me some of this cold galvanized paint. It's a primer with a very high zinc content, and the zinc eats at rust. Oh, my hand. I got some of this seam sealer from AutoZone. Let's see how much of a mess I make. Now I'm gonna come in and try and really get this, fully rub this in there to make sure it gets into all the seams, and I can add extra if it needs to. think I waited a little bit too long down here. Shit! It's like starting to settle up a little bit. It is by no means pretty, but it's getting the job done. All I want is for the welds and all the seams to be fully sealed, and that is exactly what I got. So now there's no little divots or pockets for water, moisture, salt, all that nasty stuff to get stuck into, and it all will just ideally glide off and not cause any rust. That's why I went in between any little nooks and crannies to delay any kind of rust coming back as long as possible. I put it on fat and then just rubbed it in and then kind of came back over to make sure it wasn't too late to push it into all the crevices. And the best example of that is right here on the inside of the weld. You can see the seam sealer got pushed through, which I was gonna also do the inside as well, but there were a few spots that I can see the seam sealer got pushed through on. Like right there is another example. So I feel good about only doing the outside. Boom, here it is, officially done. I put 3 light coats of primer over the seam sealer, and that was definitely the move. I was originally gonna leave it bare, but this looks way better. And now the primer over top of the seam sealer can act as a protection for the seam sealer so it doesn't chip off. It looked very roachy with the seam sealer, but the primer over it makes it look so good. For my first time doing any kind of rust repair, I am very proud of the work that I did. This is exactly what I wanted it to look like. And yeah, this should work for the rest of the life of this car, because this is a very important part about passing inspection at the drift events. If this isn't solid, you will not pass tech. I did not think that this was gonna fit. Let's go. This vent thing right here, I just had to cut some reliefs into it on the top because it's a little tight, but it actually went in. I am so excited. That means my cabin's not gonna fill up with smoke when I'm drifting as much. If that was a gaping hole, that would allow a lot of smoke in. I'm back again, and I can't lie. If I would've dropped my phone in this, I would've been a lot more upset. But I need a battery tray. I cannot have my battery all loose in there. Here we go at the car that I was gonna cut the battery tray out of. I'm very glad I did not try to cut this out with that little grinder that I had, because it took like an hour and a half at that guy's house with an actual angle grinder. Nice. Let's go. This is exactly what I need. I was just gonna install this like this, but this is an atrocity. I have to at least get this cleaned up and put a coating onto it. It's starting to rust bad in there from sitting in that pool of water. Damn. This is what the bracket looks like after all the cleaning and the parts washer and everything. I got all the flakiness off so that this rust trap can actually adhere to it. I completely forgot I had this. I probably should have put this over the primer on the Wagon, but I'll probably do that off camera. And it says to apply the second coat immediately after the first. I'm definitely an asshole for not applying this to the rust repair that I just did. And this dries so hard too, so it won't chip at all. Since I drove it in the rain, so it's gotta get all cleaned again, which, whatever. Damn it, I just remembered. I completely forgot to scrub it down with 180 grit. Granted, I hit it lightly with the wire brush, but not everywhere, so this is basically useless. It's gonna start chipping off. That is what it's gonna look like dried up, and it's gonna be a super hard urethane coating, but I don't think it's gonna stick. It's the next day now, fully dried, and as you can see, it looks exactly like how when I applied it, but more level. And I wish you guys could feel it. It's so soft and smooth, but extremely strong. Nice. Nice. No wonder. I always wondered why this wouldn't tighten the battery down. And it's because my battery tray was rotting out. Oh my goodness, that battery is so solid now. That is amazing. And there it is. 100% repaired battery box. This is so sick. Well, 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 I found the source of my rubbing noise in the rear. I was wondering why my car was sitting so low, and this would explain it. My upper control arm is made out of aluminum, and when it's lowered on suspension and it gets more load on it, it fatigues and breaks away. It started rubbing on my axle, and that's what was making that noise. So as now an upgrade to get rid of these aluminum arms, since this is probably gonna happen again, because I'm only gonna just start driving the car harder now. These are first generation X3 upper control arms, and they're made out of steel. They're the same dimensions as everything else. The only thing is the sway bar end link. I don't know what I'm gonna do to make that fit, but I don't really mind. I need these over those aluminum ones because also I received this jet ski for free, and I'm doing a restoration video on that, and I'm gonna be towing that with my E46. So towing and drifting, I'm definitely gonna need these steel arms in the rear. Damn. I am gonna remove this sway bar since I can't use the X3 arms until I figure out the mount anyways. I'll keep this in a safe place because I will most likely want to throw it back in. I need to loosen the diff a good amount so that I could get access to the top bolt to take that upper control arm out. Alright, now I can loosen the front bolts. That bolt is so difficult to get to. It's all the way up there, and it only goes 2 turns at a time. So if you don't have a 90-tooth ratchet for this, it is like drastically more difficult, or even impossible. I don't think this would be possible. Oh, yes! Yes! I can't, this is such a crazy shoulder workout. It always falls. Fuck my hand. Ow, dude. Fuck. Finally! This is the longest time I've spent on one bolt in a while. That was a good few hours fighting it. I thought I was gonna have to pull the subframe to get this out, low key. Yes! Yes! Oh my goodness. That was way more difficult than it should have been. Ow! Ow! Oh my God! There it is. There it is. This side was a joke compared to the other side. And of course it was the other side that broke. Wow, I got this side out in literally 8 minutes. And the other side like 3.5 hours. The two aluminum E46 ones are in the middle and the two X3 ones are on the outside. They look pretty much the same. I have to wait to tighten all these bushings until it's all at right height. This one is also good to tighten under load since there's a bushing inside. Here we go, the diff is in, everything is in, nice and tight. That's 4,000 RPM and I can have a nice casual conversation still. And I just went over a huge bump that normally would have a huge clunk. Here's another one. It's so smooth. Wow. It feels so much better with the suspension not slopping around now. I didn't even realize that it was happening because I drive the car every day. Oh my goodness, I've never felt it good, but now that it's actually good, it's so noticeable that it was bad. I hope you all enjoyed this video. The car drives so much better now. It's kind of ridiculous. I didn't know the control arm was that blown out, but the car sits at a way better ride height now because of that, and it takes bumps so much smoother. Inside of the car is also way quieter now that I'm not hearing the exhaust coming through that rust hole. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like. Follow me on Instagram at E30Joel to stay up to date with everything that I'm doing. And yeah, thank you for watching.